Hey guys, welcome back to Twisted Tale. Today, we've got a story that's going to take you on a roller coaster of emotions. Picture this: a group of friends decides to venture to the beach for a unique experience, experimenting with acid for the first time. With the sun still shining, they gather around a campfire, drinking and laughing, not fully aware of the surreal journey that awaits them. But as the night unfolds, the acid takes its hold, and the trip becomes a surreal and unpredictable odyssey. Stay tuned for a tale of unexpected twists, betrayal, and a love story hanging in the balance. My 22F boyfriend, 24M, cheated on me whilst high on acid because he thought it was me. My partner, 24M, and I, 22F, joined our friends on a trip to a beach to try acid for the first time. There were only 5 of us, 2 boys and 3 girls, 2 couples, 1 extra girl. We took acid while there was still sunlight because apparently it takes ages to take effect, and we spent this time drinking beer near our tents with a campfire going on. Mind you, as we were descending into tripping balls on acid, we were also getting quite drunk. I'm very lightweight, so I didn't have much to drink. My partner on the other hand had plenty. When it started to kick, it was fun. It was funny. I felt like the sand was grassy and I kept hearing Billie Eilish singing to my ear when really it was the wind blowing so hard it was whistling. This is where it goes downhill. Maybe like 4 to 5 hours later, I decided to go on a walk and had 2 friends join me because I couldn't go to sleep. My partner wanted to stay in our tent because he wasn't feeling well, so I said sure. Our other male friend who was coming to walk with me told his girlfriend to stay with my BF so that she could look after him, in case anything goes wrong. We thought all was well, until we got back. When we returned, first thing I heard was just obnoxious moaning and breathing. Me and the others panicked, so we immediately went into my BF's tent and lo and behold, both naked, someone's GF on top of my BF. I ended up vomiting and passing out on the shore, but I heard a lot of yelling and crying. I woke up being in my tent and saw my BF sleeping next to me. Honestly, I had to really think whether I hallucinated him cheating or that it really happened. Our other friend's girlfriend had apparently left during the night without letting any of us know, so there were only 4 of us. My partner's excuse was that he genuinely thought that the girl was me. The smell, the eyes, the hair, etc. When I realized it was all real, I just cried and had been crying since. I've never felt so broken, betrayed, confused, and hurt at the same time. I want to make excuses for him and think maybe it was just a mistake, but he full-on cheated. 4 years down the drain, just like that. I'd been staying at my sister's since we got back, but he hasn't stopped texting/calling me to apologize and say that he's disgusted of himself and that he genuinely thought it was me. I haven't spoken to him since, but I'm so tempted to. I miss him, but I'm just so hurt. I'm so confused. Should I break up with him for it? Edit, he'd been planning to propose to me for a month. He apparently made a custom order for an engagement ring to suit what I specifically liked. Told him that he can forget about proposing, as he'd fucked up big time. For context, the night it happened he said that it was so dark in the tent he could barely see anything and that the only light source was the campfire behind the tent. He wasn't wrong in that part, but surely you could feel and hear the difference. The girl had a deeper voice than I did and smelt entirely different from me. We have different perfumes, and she was blonde. I dyed my hair straight ginger. Dropping the proposal bomb on me just left me all the more confused and torn. How am I supposed to break up with him when he had been planning this all along? I feel like the asshole now even when I know I'm not. He knows I've been waiting for him to propose for over a year now. Update: so much has happened in the past hour. Our friend was able to get in touch with the girl who was caught with my partner because he went to the girl's house and no one ended up being there. I'll try to break it down as best as I can, starting with my partner whom called off work to come to me so that we could sit down and talk about it once and for all. I asked him if he could possibly leave work early as I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. Anyway, from his perspective, while being in the tent alone, he couldn't tell whether he was asleep or not. He thinks his eyes were open, but it wouldn't make a difference whether he blinked or stared into the abyss. He said he was really dizzy but really hyper, but then also really tired and that all these feelings made him nauseous but not to the point where he needed to throw up, just enough for him to feel the need to lie down and relax. He said he heard the tent open, but he didn't react because he naturally thought it was me. He said, "You going to bed?" as the girl he thought was me just plummeted herself onto the sheet next to him. He couldn't recall whether he heard a response, but he said he felt a kiss on his arm. He went in to spoon her and say goodnight, until he felt a kiss on his lips. He kissed back, and it progressed from there. He said he consented with his body as he thought it was me, but not because he was hallucinating, but because he couldn't see anything. He had his eyes closed most of the time because he couldn't see anyways, apparently. Then they got naked, and she straddled him. They didn't have intercourse, but instead were dry humping naked. He said he couldn't even feel anything, as if no one was on top of him. Then the tents were ripped open and he thought it was just her closing it behind her, but it was us. Then, he saw us and got really confused. This was when he thought that maybe he was hallucinating, hence the no reaction. He thought that there was no way he could see me outside the tent when I was straddling him naked. Then the guy started yelling, the girl got off him, and he went out of the tent naked. He said he forgot he was naked and got so confused as to what was happening. Then he saw me vomit, and then pass out. The whole time our guy friend was yelling at him, he carried me back into the tent and stared at me for a good minute. He looked at our friend yelling and asked if this was real. Then, he realized it was. That's when he started getting agitated, stressed, and started crying because he realized he just cheated on me. Then the girl disappeared and they didn't notice until the guy stopped yelling to ask the girl what she was doing being on top of him. He told me that the girl never spoke, only moaned. He thought it was me as we had a similar hair length and was confusing her eyes for mine whenever he caught a glimpse of light on her. I gave him a hug when he finished explaining. We were both crying at this point. Still are. I asked him if he needs help reporting this girl to the police, and he said no. He said that he thinks she confused him for her partner too, and I said there's absolutely no way that happened when she could see her boyfriend across the shore walking with me. He said that he didn't feel assaulted because he was reacting to it with the same energy, but that it was definitely weird finding out it wasn't me in the end. Still, I urged him to think about it carefully but offered my support because I know how disgusting and weird it is to even think that we'd get raped by the same people we trusted, but that it needs to be addressed. He said he'll think about it. I said my side and how I saw it, then we sat in silence for a while and ended up talking about the good moments that happened that night. We were both relieved that we talked about it, and it genuinely felt like he was telling the truth. I've known the man for 5 years, he physically cannot lie. He said he understands why I thought he cheated, because he also thinks he cheated. He brought up the proposal because he was terrified of losing me, but admitted to the bad timing of it. I shared my own guilt and apologized for leaving him in the hands of someone else, for allowing it to go that far, for everything. Now he's taking a shower and going back to work after and I'm shaking as I'm typing this. As for the girl, buckle the fuck up. We finally heard from her from our guy friend and apparently she'd been MIA because she was in the fucking hospital. She got her phone taken away by her mum. Our friend went to the girl's house because he was sick of waiting for a response and no one ended up being home. He then got the mum's number from a neighbor they were close with and called her, and then was able to speak to the girl. Fucking weird if you ask me. Her own mum told our friend she was home safe, but she'd been in the hospital this whole time. She said she left because of how disgusted she felt when she realized what she'd done. She said she just wanted to lie down but confused our tent to be theirs, they were all the same color. When she heard my partner say, "You going to bed?" she said that she thought he said, "No sex," and immediately heard her boyfriend's voice instead of mine. As in, confused my BF's voice to be her BF's voice. So she initiated small kisses and when he reciprocated, she was reassured that it was, indeed, her boyfriend. Completely forgotten about the fact that he was 20 footsteps away from her. Completely forgotten that she was asked to watch my partner in case anything happens. And so, when she realized what she had done, she left without saying anything and took an Uber home. Then jumped out of the moving fucking car because she thought the car wasn't moving and that the car wasn't moving because she was home. Ended up fracturing her arm, staying longer in the hospital for suicidal ideation and getting infections, and I think she's being fined for endangering herself and others for being high on acid. She did end up saying that she accepts whatever happens to her, whether we report what happened or beat her up, etc. Our friend said she sounded very remorseful and worried for all of us, especially my partner and I. She said herself that she thinks she raped him because she was the one who had initiated it. We're waiting to hear more from him about her and he's now on his way to visit her. A lot about it is still very unclear to us and doesn't add up. Needless to say, I am both relieved and horrified to have heard both parties' perspective. This has been such a big fucking day. It doesn't feel real. We will continue to work on this and may probably need therapy. The situation ended up being a lot bigger than me and I feel that the only ones to blame were ourselves. We allowed this situation to happen, and it didn't matter if it was intentional or not. We were irresponsible and really stupid. We thought the beach was an awesome idea for the solitude, silence, and the view, but we didn't factor in the darkness and the consequences of drinking and taking acid at the same time. Hell, one of us could have even drowned despite the ground rules we put out and despite it being a low tide that night. It was really, really dumb and set up to fail from the very beginning. As for our relationship, we're coming to an agreement to have some space between us physically, as it felt like it would have been too soon to start sleeping on the same bed, and to get therapy together. We'll talk about it more after his shower. I'm going to continue to stay at my sister's, but I'll also be seeing him regularly to continue supporting each other. We're both still shaken up and quite traumatized from it all, but we're both willing to work it out. We've heard one another and decided to trust each other, and obviously created very heavy boundaries regarding drugs and alcohol. I'm not the type to develop trust issues, so I'm hoping healing from this will be easier than how everyone makes it out to be. For the people that have commented and shared their own experiences, thank you. Especially to those who have challenged my perspective and called me out on my own shortcomings. Excluding the ones who were flat out insensitive assholes, y'all can choke. I thank those who had given me sound advice, those who educated me, and those who had given us well wishes. I really, really appreciate the time you've invested into this. I'll answer questions, but I might delete this profile shortly after. Thanks everyone. After diving into this mind-bending story, I can't help but feel a mixture of shock and empathy for all involved. It's a tale of youthful experimentation, poor choices, and the unforeseen consequences that can arise from altered states of mind. Imagine being in a place where reality blurs with hallucinations, where your senses are playing tricks on you. This is the backdrop against which our story unfolds. A night of acid-induced adventure turns into a chaotic, confusing ordeal, and relationships are put to the test. For our protagonist, the discovery of her partner's apparent infidelity shattered her world. It's a gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal, confusion, and heartache that few can truly comprehend. The question of whether to forgive, to move forward, or to break ties hangs heavy in the air, made even more complex by the weight of a planned proposal. What do you guys think? Should she forgive him? Comment down below.
Thank you for tuning in to Twisted Tales. If you enjoyed this journey through Reddit's captivating stories, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our next Reddit tale. Your support keeps these stories coming, and we can't wait to share more with you. Until next time, stay curious, stay tuned, and keep the stories flowing.